The Empire's scout ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of an unexplored solar system. Captain Robert of the Imperial Scout Force stood on the bridge, his tall frame casting a shadow across the control panels. His orders were simple: survey, assess, and report back any findings of intelligent life. "Captain, we're picking up unusual signals from the third planet," reported First Officer James, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It appears to be artificial communication." Robert's eyes narrowed as he studied the blue-green planet spinning slowly on the main screen. According to Imperial records, this sector should have been empty. Yet here was a civilization advanced enough to broadcast radio waves into space. "Run a full scan," he ordered, keeping his voice steady despite his growing excitement. This could be the discovery that would earn him a promotion to the Imperial First Fleet. The scout ship's sensors hummed to life, gathering data about the mysterious planet. Hours pass as they observed from orbit, carefully hidden behind the planet's moon. The results were fascinating. "Sir, you need to see this," James called out. "They have primitive space stations, satellites, and nuclear technology." Robert leaned forward, his golden uniform glinting under the bridge lights. "Classification: Type 1 civilizations, sir. They've barely reached beyond their atmosphere, but—" James paused, double-checking his readings. "There's something odd about their development pattern." The captain moved closer to examine the data himself. The civilization showed all the signs of normal technological progression: fossil fuels, nuclear power, early space exploration. But scattered throughout were peculiar anomalies. Military installations dotted every continent. Radiation signatures suggested stockpiles of weapons that seemed beyond their apparent technological level. "Send the report to Imperial Command," Robert decided. "Market Priority 1. The response came faster than expected. Within days, a full Imperial diplomatic vessel arrived, carrying Ambassador Marcus, one of the Empire's most experienced first contact specialists. Marcus was a tall, thin man with gray hair and eyes that had seen 1,000 worlds. He reviewed the scout ship's findings with growing interest. "Fascinating," he murmured, studying images of Earth's cities. "They appear to be at the perfect stage for integration into the Empire. Advanced enough to understand their place in the galaxy, but not so advanced that they could resist Imperial guidance." The first contact protocol was initiated according to standard Empire procedures. They positioned their ship in clear view above Earth's largest city and broadcast their arrival message in all known languages. The response from Earth shocked them all. Instead of panic or chaos, the humans reacted with remarkable calm. Their global communications indicated surprise, yes, but also what seemed to be preparation. Military forces worldwide moved with practiced precision, not in attack formation, but in defensive positions that seemed oddly well planned. "Sir," James reported, monitoring Earth's communications, "they're requesting diplomatic talks. Their leaders want to meet in a neutral location, their International Space Station." Marcus smiled, pleased with the primitive's apparent cooperation. "Acceptable. Prepare my shuttle." As the ambassador's shuttle approached the space station, Robert watched from the main ship, something nagging at the back of his mind. The human's response was too organized, too calm. It was almost as if, "Sir," James's voice cut through his thoughts, "I'm detecting energy readings from Earth's surface. They're powering up something, but it doesn't match any known signatures in our database. Probably they're primitive defense systems." Marcus's voice came through the comlink. "Nothing to worry about. These humans will soon learn the benefits of Imperial protection." Robert watched the ambassador's shuttle dock with the space station. Everything was proceeding according to protocol. The Empire had done this thousands of times before with other primitive worlds. Earth would become another bright jewel in the Empire's crown, its people grateful for the advancement and protection the Empire would provide. But as he observed the planet below, Robert couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. The humans seemed too ready, too prepared for this moment. Little did the Empire know, they had just taken their first step into a carefully laid trap, one that had been waiting for them for a very long time. The Empire's research team arrived 3 days after first contact. Dr. Allen, the head scientist, led his group through their standard planetary analysis. But Earth was anything but standard. "This can't be right," he muttered, running the scan for the 3rd time. The radiation patterns across Earth's surface made no sense. Some areas showed traces of nuclear testing, while others had strange energy signatures unlike anything in the Empire's database. Tom, his assistant, looked up from his own readings. "Sir, you should see this. I'm looking at their military installations, and something's odd." Dr. Allen moved to Tom's station, frowning at the display. Earth's military bases seemed basic at first glance. Aircraft, missiles, tanks. But they were everywhere. Every country, every continent had dozens, if not hundreds, of bases. For a peaceful civilization about to join the Empire, they seemed remarkably ready for war. Meanwhile, Ambassador Marcus was having his own concerns during meetings with Earth's leaders. The humans smiled and nodded at all the right moments, but their eyes held something that made him uneasy. They accepted the Empire's technology sharing offers too easily, asked too few questions about Imperial defense systems. During one meeting break, Marcus watched a group of humans in a park below the conference building. A woman walked by with a large animal on a rope, what humans called a dog. The creature was clearly a predator, with sharp teeth and powerful muscles, yet children ran up to pet it without fear. "Fascinating creatures, aren't they?" said General William, one of Earth's military leaders, who had approached silently. "We've lived alongside them for thousands of years." Marcus tried to hide his shock. "You keep predators as companions." William smiled. "Dogs are the least of it. Some people keep big cats, snakes, or even bears as pets. Humans can make friends with almost anything." Back on the Empire's ship, the research team made more disturbing discoveries. They found thousands of movies and books about alien invasions. The humans had been imagining and planning for first contact for over 100 years. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing to his screen. "They have something called zombie apocalypse plans. Every major government has official procedures for dealing with the undead. They plan for everything, no matter how unlikely." Dr. Allen's team also found that humans lived in some of the most dangerous places imaginable. They built cities next to active volcanoes, in earthquake zones, and in areas hit by giant storms. Instead of leaving these dangerous regions, they just built stronger buildings and made better warning systems. The final straw came when they discovered human sports and entertainment. Humans jumped out of flying vehicles for fun. They climbed frozen mountains without safety equipment. They chased dangerous animals for sport. "Sir," Tom reported to the ship's captain, "we found videos of humans putting extremely hot substances on their food. They eat things that would kill other species. They do it for entertainment." Captain Robert listened to all these reports with growing concern. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, but none quite like this. Most species ran from danger. Humans ran toward it. During the evening briefing, Dr. Allen presented his findings to the Empire's command staff. "We've been looking at Earth all wrong," he explained. "We thought their primitive weapons meant they were behind us technologically. But what if they're not primitive at all? What if this is exactly what they want us to see?" The room fell silent as security footage played on the main screen. It showed a human child fearlessly approaching one of the Empire's feared war robots, trying to pet it like one of their dogs. The robots that made other species tremble didn't frighten human children at all. Ambassador Marcus stood up slowly. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should review our standard integration procedures for Earth. This world might need a different approach." But it was already too late. The Empire had started something they couldn't stop. And Earth's response would soon show them exactly why humans were so calm about meeting aliens. They had been waiting. They had been preparing. and they were ready. The Empire's historical research team landed on Earth 2 weeks after first contact. Their job was simple: study human history to better understand these strange people. What they found kept them awake at night. Dr. Peter, the head historian, sat in his temporary office at the United Nations building, staring at his computer screen. His hand shook slightly as he read about something humans called World War IA. They dropped atomic bombs on their own planet, he whispered to his colleague Mary. Not once, but twice. And they kept making bigger ones. Mary looked up from her own research about human weapons. That's not even the worst part, she said. Look at how fast they developed these weapons. From basic flight to nuclear bombs in just 40 years. No other species has ever advanced that quickly. The research team discovered that humans had been fighting wars for their entire recorded history. Where other species took thousands of years to develop new weapons, humans did it in decades. They went from swords to guns to nuclear weapons faster than any civilization the Empire had ever seen. But it wasn't just weapons that worried them. They survived things that should kill them, reported Jack, another researcher, during their daily meeting. Look at this. They have people who climb mountains without oxygen, swim in freezing water, and run for days without stopping. Their bodies should break, but they just get stronger. Dr. Peter nodded, pulling up more files on the main screen. And they turned everything into a competition. They raced to see who can run fastest, lift the most weight, hold their breath the longest. They constantly pushed their limits. The team's medical expert, Dr. Lisa, had her own concerns. Their medical experiments are troubling, she explained. They deliberately inject themselves with diseases to build immunity. They transplant organs from one body to another. They even modify their own genes. More discoveries followed. Humans had built massive underground bunkers filled with seeds from every plant on their planet. They had plans for surviving solar flares, asteroid impacts, and global pandemics. They called these extinction-level events and treated them like challenges to overcome, not disasters to fear. One afternoon, Jack found something that made everyone pause. They have these things called preppers, he announced. Regular humans who spend their lives getting ready for the end of the world. They store food, weapons, and supplies. Some of them could survive for years without help. Dr. Peter rubbed his tired eyes. So even their civilians prepare for war. Not just war, Mary added. They prepare for everything. Natural disasters, economic collapse, alien invasion. They make plans for things that haven't even happened yet. The team's report to Empire Command was the longest in Imperial history. Page after page detailed humanity's constant drive to survive, adapt, and overcome. Their technology might look primitive, but their will to survive was stronger than anything the Empire had ever encountered. During their final week on Earth, the team made one last discovery that changed everything. "Sir," Jack called out one morning, his voice urgent. "I found something about their space program. These humans, they sent people to their moon using computers less powerful than our kitchen appliances. They didn't wait for better technology. They just decided to go and found a way to make it work." Dr. Peter walked to the window of their office, looking out at the busy New York street below. He watched humans walk past Imperial soldiers without fear, children play near advanced alien technology like it was normal, and dogs still being walked past Empire security robots. "We made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. "What do you mean?" Mary asked. "We thought we were studying a primitive species," he explained. "But we're not. We're studying survivors, everything they do. The weapons, the preparation, the constant competition. It's all about survival. They don't just want to live. They want to make sure they can never be destroyed." He turned back to his team, his face grave. "And now we've given them access to Imperial technology." The report he sent to Empire Command ended with a single line. "Caution. This species is far more dangerous than they appear." But the Empire was about to learn this lesson the hard way. The Empire's high command grew tired of waiting. Despite warnings from their research teams, they decided to show Earth their true power. Admiral John, commander of the Imperial First Fleet, received his orders with a confident smile. A simple display of force, he told his officers. We'll take one of their small military bases, show them what real power looks like. The target was a seemingly unimportant base in the middle of a desert. Imperial scans showed minimal defenses, just some old planes and a few ground vehicles. The perfect target for a quick victory. The Empire's attack began at dawn. 3 massive warships appeared above the base, their weapons charged. Admiral John's voice boomed across the base's communication systems. Surrender now, and your lives will be spared. Resist, and face the consequences. The humans' response came in the form of a single message. Thanks for the warning. Suddenly, the ground beneath the base split open. Hidden missile silos that hadn't appeared on any Imperial scans emerged from the desert floor. Before the Empire's ships could react, dozens of what seemed like primitive nuclear missiles launched toward them. Impossible, Admiral John muttered. Their weapons can't hurt our shields. But these weren't ordinary nuclear weapons. The humans had modified them, combining their primitive nuclear technology with the new understanding they'd gained from studying Imperial ships during the diplomatic visits. The first missile hit the lead ship's shields. Instead of a normal explosion, it created a strange energy field that made the shields flicker and fail. The second wave of missiles struck immediately after. Evasive action, Admiral John shouted, but it was too late. The first Imperial warship crashed into the desert, its hull torn apart. The second managed to stay airborne but lost all power. The third, Admiral John's flagship, barely escaped into high orbit. But the humans weren't finished. Small, fast aircraft appeared from underground hangars. They looked old and simple, but they flew in ways that Imperial pilots had never seen. They didn't try to match the Empire's technology. Instead, they used the Empire's own power against them. Sir, an officer called out, they're using our energy readings to target our weak spots. They've been studying us this whole time. The human pilots flew directly into the Imperial ship's blind spots, attacking with weapons that seemed to be designed specifically to hurt Imperial technology. Each strike was precise, planned, and devastating. From his damaged flagship, Admiral John watched in horror as hundreds of small human submarines emerged from the oceans worldwide. They launched more missiles, not at the Imperial ships, but at precise points in the atmosphere. What are they doing? He demanded. The answer came quickly. The missiles detonated in a pattern, creating an electromagnetic field that disrupted Imperial communications and sensor systems. The humans had turned their entire planet into a trap. All ships, retreat. Admiral John ordered. For the first time in 10,000 years, an Imperial fleet fled from battle. As they limped away from Earth, the Admiral received reports from across the planet. Every Imperial diplomatic mission was being politely but firmly escorted to their ships. The humans' message was clear: leave, or face more demonstrations of Earth's primitive capabilities. In his private quarters, Admiral John reviewed the battle footage. The humans hadn't just beaten them. They had been ready for them. Every response had been planned, every counterattack prepared in advance. Sir, his second-in-command reported, we found something interesting. That small base we attacked. It was a testing facility for their advanced weapons program. They let us attack it. Admiral John stared at the image of Earth on his screen. The humans had outplayed them completely. They hadn't just prepared for an alien invasion. They had prepared for every possible type of alien invasion. His final report to the Empire was brief. Do not attempt further military action against Earth. They weren't developing weapons to fight us. They were holding back. As the Imperial fleet retreated, they intercepted one last message from Earth's leaders. Next time, just ask nicely. The Empire's top intelligence officer, Commander David, had never seen the Imperial Council so afraid. After the military defeat, they had ordered him to find out everything about Earth's true capabilities. What he discovered changed the Empire forever. He stood before the council, his tablet shaking slightly in his hands. "My lords, Earth's primitive appearance was a carefully crafted lie. Let me show you why." The first images appeared on the massive screen behind him. They showed massive underground cities, hidden beneath Earth's mountains and oceans. These facilities, David explained, aren't bunkers. They're research centers. The humans built them decades ago, preparing for the day they met aliens. But that's just the beginning. He swiped to the next image. It showed laboratories where humans had created diseases that could target specific genetic patterns. They had cures too, but kept them separate and secure. "They call this biological research," David continued. "They've created weapons that could kill specific species while leaving others unharmed. And they did this before they even knew aliens existed." The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One of them raised a hand. "But surely their chemical weapons are primitive." David laughed nervously. "That's what we thought. But look at this." New images showed hidden chemical warfare facilities. The humans had developed gases that could melt Imperial armor, disable Imperial ships, and even break down the Empire's strongest materials. They weren't building these weapons to fight each other, David explained. They were testing and preparing them for different types of alien biology. Every war, every conflict on Earth was just practice. But the biggest shock came when David revealed Earth's AI program. "Remember those simple computers they use?" he asked. "They're a front. Look at this." The screen showed a vast network of quantum computers hidden in those underground facilities. The humans had developed AI systems far more advanced than expected. But instead of using them openly, they kept them secret, letting them grow and learn. "Their AI doesn't think like ours," David said. "They created it differently. It doesn't try to control or replace humans. It works with them, learns from them, thinks like them. It's unpredictable, just like they are." One council member stood up. "Why? Why hide all this?" David pulled up more files. "Because they were watching. Earth has known about the Empire for years. They detected our ships long ago, but instead of contacting us, they studied us. They learned our weaknesses, our strategies, our technology." The images kept coming. Hidden space stations disguised as debris. Weapons platforms that looked like old satellites. Defense systems built into their planet's natural features. Every time we thought they were primitive, David said, they were actually testing us. Those diplomatic meetings where we showed them our technology. They were scanning everything, finding our weak points. The council chamber fell silent as David showed his final discovery. It was a simple video from a human classroom. Small children were learning about different alien species, studying their biology, their weaknesses, their battle tactics. "They've been teaching their children about us for generations," David explained. "Not just about the Empire, but about every possible type of alien they might meet. They made plans for peaceful contact and for war. They were ready for anything." He closed his presentation with a single image, a human child's drawing. It showed humans and aliens living together peacefully, but in the background were weapons, defenses, and plans. "This is who they are," David said quietly. "They hope for peace but prepare for war. They want to be friends, but they're ready to be enemies. They're not just survivors, they're planners." The council sat in stunned silence. Finally, one member asked, "What do you suggest we do?" David's answer was simple. Pray they want to be friends. Because if they decide to be enemies, the Empire won't survive. As the council members left the chamber, they all knew one thing. The Empire hadn't discovered Earth. Earth had been waiting for them all along. And they still didn't know what other secrets humans were hiding. The Imperial Palace on Capital World had never hosted an emergency meeting quite like this. Representatives from all corners of the Empire gathered in the Grand Chamber, their faces showing a mixture of fear and disbelief. Emperor Paul, ruler of 1,000 worlds, sat on his throne looking older than usual. Before him stood Professor Mike, the Empire's leading expert in species evolution. "Tell them what you discovered about humans," the Emperor commanded. Professor Mike stepped forward, activating his holographic display. "My lords and ladies, humans are unique in the galaxy for one terrifying reason. They are the only known species to evolve as pursuit predators." The chamber erupted in confused whispers. The professor continued, showing images of early humans hunting. Other predator species chase their prey for a short time. If they don't catch it quickly, they give up. But humans— He paused, letting the next images appear. Humans would follow their prey for days. They would walk or run until the prey became too tired to continue. They didn't need to be faster. They just needed to be more persistent. The Emperor leaned forward. "And how does this affect their development?" "Everything about humans is shaped by this history," Professor Mike explained. "They don't give up. When faced with a problem, they keep trying different solutions until they find one that works. They turn this same persistence toward technology, warfare, and survival." New images appeared, showing humans surviving in every environment on Earth: freezing poles, burning deserts, deep oceans. Most species adapt to their environment over many generations. The professor continued. "Humans don't wait. They build tools and technology to survive anywhere. They're the only species we found that can live in any environment within a single generation." A military advisor stood up. "But surely their weapons are still primitive compared to ours." Professor Mike shook his head. "That's our biggest mistake. We thought their weapons were primitive because they used simple materials. But look at this." He showed footage from the failed military attack. "They don't try to match our technology. They find ways to use our own power against us. They study their enemies and develop specific countermeasures. No other species thinks this way." The Emperor's chief scientist added his own discovery. "They've survived multiple near-extinction events. Ice ages, plagues, massive volcanic eruptions. Each time, they came back stronger. They don't just survive. They learn and prepare for the next disaster." The chamber fell silent as images of Earth's hidden defenses appeared. Underground bases, orbital weapons disguised as debris, biological weapons tailored to different alien physiologies. "This is why they seemed so calm when we arrived," Professor Mike explained. "They weren't shocked by our technology. They were measuring our reactions, testing our responses. Everything we saw as primitive was actually carefully crafted bait." A council member stood up. "So what are our options?" The Emperor's strategic advisor stepped forward. "We have 3 choices. Try to conquer them, ignore them, or accept them as equals. Conquest is suicide." The military advisor interrupted. "They've been preparing for invasion scenarios for centuries. We'd lose." "Ignoring them is impossible," another council member added. "They know we exist now. They'll keep expanding, keep preparing." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. "Then we have only one real choice. For the first time in Imperial history, I move to classify Earth as a do-not-engage planet and offer them equal status in the galaxy." The vote was unanimous. Every member of the council had seen enough to know that humans weren't just another primitive species to be conquered. They were something the Empire had never encountered before. A species that had turned survival into an art form. As the council members left the chamber, Professor Mike shared one last observation with the Emperor. "The truly frightening thing isn't what we found, my lord. It's what we haven't found yet. The humans showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. Their real secrets are still hidden." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Then let us hope they choose to be friends, because I fear what would happen if they decide to be enemies." For the first time in its history, the mighty Empire had found a species it dared not fight. And somewhere on Earth, humans were already planning their next move. 3 months after the Empire's retreat, their diplomatic ships returned to Earth's orbit. This time, they waited patiently for permission to land. Inside the United Nations building in New York, Earth's Global Defense Council watched as Imperial representatives approached with their hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. The room was calm, but there was a hint of satisfaction in the air. "Right on schedule," said Director Mark, head of Earth's Defense Forces. He turned to his second-in-command, Commander Jane. "Shall we show them what we've really been up to?" She nodded, pressing a button on her tablet. Around the world, hidden facilities began to power up. The Imperial diplomats entered the room just as Earth's true technological capabilities revealed themselves. Massive ships, far more advanced than anything the Empire had seen, rose from the oceans. Orbital defense platforms shed their disguises, showing weapons that made Imperial technology look outdated. The lead Imperial diplomat, Thomas, tried to hide his shock. You had these all along." Director Mark smiled. "We detected your scout ships 50 years ago. We've been preparing ever since. But not for war, for this moment." Holographic displays activated around the room, showing Earth's actual technological level. They had clean fusion power, gravity manipulation, and faster-than-light travel capabilities. But they had kept it all hidden, waiting to see how the Empire would approach them. "You see," Commander Jane explained, "we needed to know if you would come in peace or try to conquer us. Your first attempt to take over one of our bases gave us our answer." The Empire's representatives watched in amazement as more revelations followed. Earth's quantum computers were centuries ahead of Imperial technology. Their medical science could cure diseases the Empire thought unstoppable. Their understanding of physics made Imperial science look elementary. "But why hide all this?" Thomas asked. "Why pretend to be primitive?" Director Mark walked to the window, looking out at the city. "Because history taught us something important. When advanced civilizations meet less developed ones, it rarely ends well for either side. We needed to know your intentions. So everything, the primitive weapons, the hidden technology, the careful preparation," Thomas trailed off, "was a test." Commander Jane finished. "One the Empire failed when they tried to show their power through force." But then Director Mark surprised the Imperial diplomats. "However, your quick decision to retreat and offer peace showed wisdom. That's why we're now ready to share our technology. As equals." The implications hit the Imperial representatives hard. Earth wasn't asking to join the Empire. They were offering to help lead it into a new age. Around the world, more hidden facilities activated. Research centers, manufacturing plants, and defense systems far beyond Imperial understanding became visible. Earth had been a sleeping giant, waiting for the right moment to wake up. "We've also contacted the other worlds in your empire," Commander Jane added. "The ones you conquered. They're quite interested in forming new alliances with us." The message was clear. The old empire was over. A new galactic order was beginning, with Earth as a major power. Director Mark handed Thomas a data crystal. "This contains some of our basic technology. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. We hope it leads to a peaceful future for all species." As the Imperial diplomats left the building, they passed a school group on a field trip. The children waved at the aliens, completely unafraid. One child turned to Thomas and said something that would haunt him forever. "We're glad you decided to be friends. We really didn't want to use the other plans." Back in the council room, Director Mark and Commander Jane watched the Imperial ships depart. "Do you think they'll ever realize?" Jane asked. "That we let them find us. That we used their own exploration patterns to ensure they'd discover Earth at exactly the right time." Mark smiled. "Probably not. And the other plans the kid mentioned. Let's hope we never need them." Mark looked at the stars through the window. "But if we do?" They both knew the truth. Humanity had planned for every possibility, prepared for every scenario. They had chosen to be friends, but they were still ready to be enemies, if they had to be. The galaxy would never be the same again.